Hello, everybody, and welcome to December 16th, 2019's version of the community call. Our live streaming is now started. We're going to start out with our team's reports. From my side, I don't have a ton to report for the open source. I have been lax in my attempted review of the Kubernetes launch of the Jitsi stack. There's been a bunch of comments about running in a single pod, running in multiple pods, so I'm planning on spending a little bit of time on that. But probably that'll be between now and the end of the year, so don't expect any results on that in the next couple weeks. Anyone else from our team want to report something?
I can say a few words about the release of the new bridge. Last week we switched all of me Jitsi to the new version of the bridge, and unfortunately we are observing some drop packets and ice failures. And we are aware of the issues. We are looking into them with high priority, and we're hoping to have a fix soon. So far, there are no plans to roll back, but that might also be on the table. And another topic, better news, Google recently announced Summer of Code 2020, and we would like to participate. This means that we'll be sending an application towards the end of January. What we need to do as a first step is come up with a list of ideas for projects. So if anyone has any ideas for a cool thing that a student can do in a couple of months during the summer, let us know and we'll consider it.
Cool. Thank you, Boris. Anyone else on the team want to say anything about what you've been up to?
So I have an update. In the last release of Jitsi, we released this feature that we call presenter mode. So with this feature, we added the ability to share both camera and screen simultaneously. So all you have to do is like unmute your camera when screen sharing is in progress, and you could see the presenter's video as well. Like we position a camera thumbnail on the lower right corner of the screen. So this is where the presenter is displayed. So you can play with it and let us know how you like it. Thank you.
Does that push some sort of status somewhere that it's in presenter mode? Is that in presence or somewhere? Just if we want to know if presenter mode is active.
You could see it in your preview. I mean, like right now.
You're wondering programmatically though?
Yeah, programmatically. Just to know in case we have some custom behavior. And just we actually noticed this. It's a really cool feature, but it sort of was interfering with some kind of custom logic that we added, and so just curious if there's a way to know if presenter mode is active, like if that's pushed in presence or something like that.
I mean, there is no external API to actually explicitly disable it. But how is it interfering with your custom logic? I mean, you don't have to actually, but when we start the screen sharing, the camera will be muted. I mean, if you don't unmute it, then you won't get into the presenter mode, right?
Oh yeah, it's not. We don't want to disable it. We just would just be good to, is presenter mode sort of implicitly just when you're sharing your screen?
Yes. Only when you're sharing your screen, yes.
Okay, so we can just use that. Because I think if a participant is sharing a screen, then that's already, I think, broadcast in some. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head, but I think that is the fact that the participant screen sharing is communicated to all the other participants and to the bridge, right?
Yes.
Okay. Great.
And also, as far as the receivers are concerned, it's still a single stream, so there's nothing that you need to do with that.
Okay, cool. Great.
Thank you, Jaya. Anyone else from the Jitsi team have anything to say for yourselves?
It might also be worth mentioning that for a new bridge, we're working on what we realized was a Firefox regression, so some REMB, both incoming and outgoing support in new bridge to better support bandwidth estimation and rate control for Firefox. So that's pretty close to being done. Some of it's in already, and I think the rest should be soon.
Cool. Thank you, Brian. Anyone else from the Jitsi team?
Also, I think since the last community call, we did a stable release of Jitsi Meet. So that's it. And we're working to for the next version, hopefully including JV2.
Great. Anyone else from the Jitsi team have anything else they want to talk about? Going once, going twice. Great. So now we're moving to open mic. Anybody questions from the community? Open mic. Anyone with questions?
I have a quick question. We noticed, and so we're doing this recording on the new JVV2, and we're comparing what we for the result of the audio that we're persisting with the similar audio stream directly from Chrome, and they're slightly stretched. I think it's mostly just due to the audio packets getting discarded. So right now, I think the behavior should be that if the audio is below, the audio level is below, I guess, a certain level or 0, then it'll be set to should discard, and then those will be dropped. Is there any? We were thinking about just disabling this, just to kind of simplify things. Is there any risk in doing that? It's just mostly like a bandwidth optimization, right?
Yeah, that and CPU, because we don't decrypt them. But that's all.
Okay, but it should be. Oh, I see. That's a good point. Okay, but this should be fairly marginal, right? It only really happens, I guess, in a scenario where their microphone is essentially disabled at some like their settings, right? Because otherwise,
Not quite actually.
Well, if they mute.
Yeah. Anytime Chrome client is muted through the interface, through the Jitsi interface or the peer connection API, they continue to send silence packets.
got it. Okay, right. So okay, that's true. So mute, whether it be muted or whether they be just their audio level is just very low, the behavior should be the same.
Yeah, either one of those I think could result in discarding. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. One more. Just quick question on a slightly different topic. At last call, I had asked about potentially doing, having some XMPP functionality prior to joining the meeting, and we're using the external API, so the iframe API. Is it possible, would it be viable if we had a separate XMPP connection sort of that we set up sort of manually outside of the normal flow? Would it be possible to pass a reference to that connection to the iframe? Obviously, we'd have to change the iframe, the external API, but would that break something that off anybody's top of anybody's head? As I wonder if that would be.
So there's so we don't have an interface method to pass the connection,
Right.
or something like that. I guess you can pass it through the content window, maybe, although you may have some troubles with some course issues. But yeah, I mean, we haven't done that. Out of curiosity, why do you need to do it?
Because we want to be able to leverage XMPP and Posse for some things prior to joining a meeting, like for just basic presence and.
Oh yeah. I remember what you explained the previous time, but why do you need to pass it into the iframe basically? Or did I understood correctly?
I guess just so that I'm worried about having just two completely separate sessions. If we created one before joining the meeting and then we pass that in, then it could basically, use the same. It could be just continuity. It could be the same user session, same participant session. Because they would effectively be two rooms, right? I'm just worried about if they're two completely duplicate sessions that are where it's not clear that they're the same person. I'm worried that that's going to create its own set of issues. But what's sort of the behavior right now? Because I think you had mentioned last time that there's something similar type of behavior is being used elsewhere. And I think that was why you recommended just kind of creating a separate XMPP connection. But is there, how is that handled in these other scenarios? Like,
also, in the other scenarios that we have been using is so basically there are two totally different connections, and from the connection that is outside of the meeting, basically it is used for exactly the stuff that you're saying. Plus, basically we are passing information about, let's say, the meeting ID or the URL basically that you need to join when somebody is calling you, let's say, or when you try to call somebody, we are sending information that is going to help you build the URL on the other side as well and joining the meeting. And it can even be I mean, it's not necessary to be XMPP connection. It can be anything basically, because in order to join the meeting, you need to somehow end up in the same URL basically, and nothing more, right? So, or if you have some other settings like maybe JWT tokens and stuff like that, I guess you wouldn't be passing that as well. Yeah, but I don't think you'll need the same connection in order to join the meeting technically. So I don't see that as an issue. If you are, I mean, I'm not sure what you're worried about, but you should be fine with two separate connections.
Yeah, maybe right. I was curious that way.
Anyway, if you try to reuse some other connection, I guess you can try passing it through the window object and the content window there.
Oh, that's true.
But I guess that's gonna be harder because I mean, I'm not sure if you wouldn't face another issues this way.
Okay, so you would.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
Separate. I mean, I guess if they're in two separate rooms, maybe it doesn't matter. So okay, just curious. Thanks for the suggestion.
Cool, it's a good question. Anybody else with questions for the community? Ringing silence. One more try. Okay, well, with that then, we're going to wrap up this edition of the community call. Thanks, everybody. I think we're back again in 2 weeks, so see you then. Have a good one.